So as we're looking here in chapter 11, chapter 11 is our first organic chapter. And in this chapter, what we are going to be looking at is kind of starting off by looking at what is the difference between organic chemistry and not organic chemistry, or more precisely, inorganic chemistry. What are the differences between those two fields? And then getting into kind of the most simple organic compounds that there are, the hydrocarbons, and using that kind of as a launch point for the next couple of weeks here. So we need to start with that first and most important question. What is organic chemistry? Organic chemistry specifically is the study of carbon-based compounds. Now, in this class, we are going to get into probably maybe somewhere around 30% of this class is going to end up being organic chemistry, and another 30% or so, maybe even a little bit less, is going to be applications of organic chemistry when we start talking about biomolecules. So what we are going to be doing, our primary focus in these organic chapters, is to take what we saw early and start to apply it to some specific ideas and some specific kinds of molecules. So where we tend to focus on with organic compounds, we usually are looking at hydrocarbons. Those compounds that contain carbon and hydrogen. So some definition kinds of things here. An organic compound will be made up of hydrogen and carbon, carbon and hydrogen. Carbon is what we are going to call the backbone of these molecules, because if we look kind of at the center of most of these molecules, what we're going to see is a carbon chain. Carbon bonded to carbon, bonded to carbon, bonded to carbon, and so on. Hydrogen's kind of filling out the spaces. Now, as we get into different kinds of subclasses of organic chemistry, we might see some of those other elements thrown in here as well. Things like sulfur, phosphorus, nitrogen, oxygen, or any of those halogen, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Organic compounds are found in a lot of stuff. Most consumer products are organic compounds in some kind of form or fashion. The petroleum industry, the gasoline industry, the plastic industry, the material science industry. You pretty much name an industry and there's going to probably be some sort of carbon-based component to it. As far as formulas are concerned, we will always write the chemical formulas of these compounds, starting with carbon and then going on to hydrogen. And if those other elements make an appearance, they'll usually be in order of appearance. Here's where the tie into chapter 6 is. Organic compounds are almost exclusively covalent compounds, almost exclusively nonpolar kinds of substances. So we tend to see dispersion forces being the primary force among these, which is why most of these compounds have low melting points, low boiling points. Most of them are quite reactive. And because of that low boiling point, that high evaporation rate, they burn really easy. They're very reactive substances. And because they are nonpolar, whereas water is extremely polar, they don't dissolve in each other. And so when we start looking at organic compounds more precisely, we're going to see that we're going to deviate away from this water-based chemistry that we've seen in a lot of the stuff we've done to this point. Just as a point of contrast, we know that inorganic compounds, salts, other kinds of substances like those, kind of have the opposite properties. High melting, high boiling, dissolve really well in water. Most of them don't burn, those kinds of things. So again, we're looking at kind of an exact opposite of most of the stuff that we've looked at thus far. And so that's where we're going to stop for today. Again, I just wanted to kind of jump into some of the terminology, some of the differences, provide for us that bridge that kind of guides us to this is what we were just looking at in chapter 6. And now when we come back to this on Thursday, we're going to be able to look at the molecules themselves and get into some more deep information about the hydrocarbons and what they, how we can recognize them and start to name them. Have a great day.